Tonight, 4 Republican presidential contenders will face off in Houston during the final debate ahead of next week's Super Tuesday primary, when delegates in Texas and 10 other states, along with American Samoa, will be at stake. This comes as billionaire businessman Donald Trump easily won the Nevada caucus Tuesday night, capturing 46% of the vote in his 3rd consecutive victory. Trump thanked supporters during a victory speech in Nevada.
So we won the evangelicals, we won with young, we won with old, we won with highly educated, we won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. We're the smartest people, we're the most loyal people. And you know what I really am happy about, because I've been saying it for a long time. 46% with the Hispanics, 46%, #1 with Hispanics. I'm really happy about that. So,
Donald Trump will be one of 5 candidates who face off in tonight's debate. Well, Donald Trump is featured in a new report just published by the Southern Poverty Law Center called The Year in Hate and Extremism. Its cover includes an image of Trump in front of a microphone. The report details how the number of hate groups rose 14% last year, bringing the total number of hate groups in the U.S. to nearly 900. It found the number of Ku Klux Klan groups more than doubled. It also documented 34 anti-Muslim hate groups and 48 anti-LGBTQ hate groups.
The Southern Poverty Law Center points to the presidential election cycle as one of the primary reasons for the rising number of hate groups across the U.S., saying last year was marked by a level of hate speech in mainstream politics not seen in decades. It notes, quote, Donald Trump's demonizing statements about Latinos and Muslims have electrified the radical right, leading to glowing endorsements from the white nationalist leaders such as Jared Taylor and former Klansman David Duke. White supremacist forums are awash with electoral joy, having dubbed Trump their glorious leader. The Investigation Discovery Network will premiere a series titled Hate in America, based on the work of the Southern Poverty Law Center this Monday, February 29th. Well, for more, we're joined by the center's president, Richard Cohen. Welcome back to Democracy Now! It's great to have you for the first time in our studio.
Thank you, Amy.
On our 20th anniversary.
Perfect.
So talk about this report, the picture right here, The Year in Hate and Extremism, with the major face on the cover, Donald Trump in front of a microphone.
I'm not sure that Mr. Trump would object to being center stage. He never seems to. And it's been an unusual time. You know, usually in the white supremacist world, the attitude is a pox on both their homes. You know, the system is incredibly corrupt. This time, you know, as you said, people are very, very excited about Trump. They call him the glorious leader. And it's all about the immigration issue. People like Jared Taylor.
And explain who Jared Taylor is.
Jared Taylor is a longtime white nationalist. Most recently, he came into the public mind because he served as the spokesperson for the Council of Conservative Citizens. That was the hate group whose Kool-Aid Dylan Roof drank when he was radicalized. So, you know, he's been a real fixture on the white supremacist scene and a very influential one.
So could you talk about some of the main findings of the report?
Sure. Well, first, you know, we saw an increase in the number of hate groups in the country, going from about 800 to 900. We also saw a similar increase of 14% to about 1,000 of these radical anti-government groups, the people who believe that, you know, they're FEMA camps that are awaiting us, that people are trying to make us into the New World Order. Secondly, we saw a really incredible level of violence last year. What was the massacre in Charleston, most well known, but really, you know, scores of events, some quite deadly. And lastly, of course, the mainstreaming of hate in the political campaign and by pundits on the airwaves.
What about what about the media's role, Richard?
I mean, the media amplifies the hate that's out there. They give, you know, every time Donald Trump, you know, starts talking about rapists and, you know, from Mexico and whatnot, it's blasted all over the air. It coarsens, you know, kind of our society. It makes it almost acceptable to talk that way.
And you say in the report that the radical right has shifted its principal base to the internet. Why is that important?
Well, you know, it used to be the case that if you wanted to get your fill of hate, you'd go to a Klan rally or cross burning. Nowadays, you can do it from your home. And you have it's easier, and you have the benefit of anonymity. And we've seen during President Obama's administration a tremendous increase in the number of persons who are online haters. Stormfront, which is the most important online forum for hate members, has grown by 100% since Obama has been in office. These are 300,000 people who don't just visit, millions visit, but 300,000 people who have signed up and, for posting privileges so they can spew their venom daily.
You talk about terrorist attacks and radical plots proliferating.
Yes.
We're not talking about ISIS. So explain exactly what we're talking about.
Well, we did a report and showed that there was a terrorist attack or a domestic incident, domestic terrorism, about once every 34 days over the last 5 years. Some of these attacks, of course, are, kind of well known, like the massacre in Charleston,
the Emmanuel Church.
Right, the killings in the Planned Parenthood. But I just think people don't get a sense of,
Colorado Springs.
Yeah, how common these things are.
Well, some have criticized the methodology used in the SPLC report. Vanderbilt University political science professor Carol Swain has argued that the SPLC is too all-encompassing, saying they, quote, paint with a very broad brush, and in the process they tend to sweep up people that are politically conservative. I think they do it in a very harmful way, and they abuse their power as an organization. She goes on to say, quote, these are individuals that are Christian conservatives. They're just traditional conservatives, but because of their position on LGBT issues, the Southern Poverty Law Center finds ways to malign these individuals or their organizations. Richard Cohen, your response to this criticism?
Our methodology is well known. We call groups hate groups when they vilify entire groups of people because of their immutable characteristics. Focus on the Family is a very conservative Christian organization, and we certainly don't call them a hate group. But we would call groups that spread demonizing lies about the LGBT community, lies such as, pedophilia is, a problem for the gay community, or the American Family Association saying that, gay people brought us the Holocaust and black people rut like rabbits. I think that you can call yourself the American Family Association, you can wrap yourself in the Bible, but when you say things like that, I think you deserve the moniker of a hate group.
Well, you also say that the report says that there's been a 14% increase in hate groups in 2015. But the report also indicates that that's probably an underestimation.
Yeah.
Could you explain?
Well, our methods of detecting hate groups, aren't foolproof, and there's obvious an undercount. It's also, it doesn't take into account, the hundreds of thousands of people who aren't formally affiliated with hate groups, but, have hate in their hearts. It's just one indicator of the level of rage, the level of vitriol that exists in the country.
Last year, Donald Trump faced criticism after a town hall in New Hampshire when, during the Q&A, one of his supporters stood up and said President Obama is a Muslim and not even an American, and asked when the United States could get rid of Muslims.
Okay, this man, I like this guy.
From White Plains, amen, okay? We have a problem in this country. It's called Muslims. We know our current president is one.
Right.
He's not even an American.
We need this
birth
question.
certificates, man. But anyway, we have training camps growing where they want to kill us. Mm-hmm. That's my question. When can we get rid of them?
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things.
Your response to what Donald Trump said in this town hall meeting, Richard Cohen?
Well, I'm not surprised by the supporter who stood up. Over 60% of the people who support Trump believe that President Obama is a secret Muslim and wasn't born in this country. So, none of that surprises me. you know, what we're hearing on the campaign trail, what is leading to the increase in the number of hate groups in our country, is the changing demographics of our country. It's changing rapidly, and, you know, I think, you know, many white people feel like the tide is turning against them. And so we have a reaction to that. We see the reaction in the vilification of Muslims. We see the reaction to it in the vilification of kind of Hispanics. You know, a generation ago, it was the Southern strategy. Now, you know, it's different people are targeted.
How does Oregon fit into this? The standoff that was just finished with the death of the spokesperson and the others in jail.
Well, I think what really fits into it is what happened on Cliven Bundy's ranch. You know, he refuses to pay his grazing fees, doesn't pay his fines.
This is in Nevada.
Yeah, they point guns at federal officials, and nothing happens. And so as a result, the anti-government patriot organization group, you know, grows tremendously and are emboldened. Then they show up in Oregon and take over that that compound. And of course, they eventually arrested Cliven Bundy, but they could have arrested him the day after the standoff in Nevada. And I think it was the failure of the federal officials to move more quickly originally that led to the explosion in anti-government groups and led to the situation in Oregon.
Well, what are some of the other factors? Because the report talks about how many Americans are now anti-government.
Yes.
What do you think accounts for this growth in suspicion of the government, in addition to what you pointed out? Do you think that having the first, for example, African-American president has contributed to that?
I think that's absolutely right. We've seen this tremendous increase in the number of anti-government groups during President Obama's tenure. You know, there was a big increase during the time of Bill Clinton, then it went down during George Bush's presidency, and now it shot up again under President Obama's tenure. And there's also, you know, this changing demographics makes people less trustful of the efficacy of collective action. It's kind of a well-known sociological fact. And of course, the vehicle of collective action in our country, perhaps the most important vehicle, is the government itself. So people have lost confidence in institutions.
And the collapse of the economy for many.
Absolutely.
Not for all.
You know, we kind of white working class people, you know, their prospects aren't nearly as good as they were a generation ago. And so there's a tremendous amount of angst and anger in the country as a result.
On Monday, Investigation Discovery will air a new documentary series called Hate in America, Klan on Trial, recounting the story of Michael Donald, the victim of brutal Klan violence in Mobile, Alabama in the early 80s. The SPLC took the case and helped bring down the United Klans of America. This is a trailer for the series.
When hatred leads to murder, why did they do all that? He died just because of the color of his skin. Something needs to be done.
I would like to bring the United Klan to justice.
ID presents the heroes who overcame the hate.
She was the face, the woman that beat the Klan.
And found a way to fight for justice.
This is bigger than just our family.
Hate in America, the Klan on Trial, all new special.
The Klan on Trial. As we wrap up, Richard Cohen, what are you hoping will come out of the series that you're doing?
You know, we're trying to shine a light on the reality of hate in America. So, you know, people don't turn their backs, people don't become apathetic, and people decide or try to build bridges, you know, across the racial divide, across the ethnic divide. We're a better country than what Donald Trump says. You know, what makes America great is not building walls, it's building bridges.
When Donald Trump retweets a white supremacist, what is the problem with that when he says, I don't know their background, I just liked something they said?
Well, it's wild. You know, one of the things he retweeted was the hashtag was white genocide. I don't know how you can claim ignorance when the hashtag is white genocide. It's kind of a well-known meme in the white supremacist world having to do with the idea that white people are under attack. People like Dylann Roof and other killers, you know, have bought into that and are striking out. It's crazy to say he didn't know what that meant.
Well, Richard Cohen, I want to thank you for being with us. President of the Southern Poverty Law Center just released its annual report, The Year in Hate and Extremism. The cover featuring Donald Trump in front of a microphone. The ID Network, Investigation Discovery, will be premiering a series titled Hate in America, based on the work of the Southern Poverty Law Center. The first of the series begins Monday, February 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is Democracy